Welcome to the Google Classroom training that's going to focus on setting up the new school year. I'm Lynn Cristino from the Pawtucket School Department, and I'm creating this tutorial in August of 2016. It's always important to know the date creating a PD like this because we know that things change. So if there are things that you see that look a little different, it may be because of changes since August 2016. So really with this PD, we're going to think about out with the old and in with the new. So this training has been designed for people who've used Google Classroom. So if you've used Google Classroom in a previous school year and you're now preparing to use it for the new school year, we're going to go over what you're going to do to get yourself ready, just some cautions, some things so that you're set up for the new school year. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to open my Google Classroom so that you can see. I do have a number of Google Classrooms, and you'll see them here. Just a wide variety that I have. A lot of them were from professional development sessions that we did, and we kind of made up some fun names and things like that. Some of them are real classrooms. So what I'm going to show you first is what you're going to do when you have classes like I do, you have students in them, and that school year is done. You're not going to have those kids anymore. It's a class that you are finished with. So I'm just going to choose one of my classes. I'm going to choose the Sixers. And one thing to note is that if I ever did want to change the name of that class, I can use my three dots. I always know that gives me a choice. I could rename it or I could archive it. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to focus first, though, on taking a look and seeing that I have 14 students in this class. So the very important first step is that I get my students out of this class. If I don't, it's still going to show up when they go into Google Classroom. So I want to make sure that I take them out of that. Here I am in my Sixers in my class, and I have my students. So the way that I did that, let me show you again. When I was at my list of classes, instead of opening the class and going to students, I have a quick link right here that shows me how many students are in the class. So I'm going to click on that, and it will bring me right to my student tab. So you're familiar with this, that you have a tab for your stream, tab for your students, and a tab for about. Now, these just happen to be educators who are in this particular training. So I'm under students. What I want to do, since I want to take them all out of this class, I'm going to click on the box at the very top of my list, which then automatically selects all students. Under Actions, I'm going to click on Remove. It gives me a check, says, okay, do you really want to remove all of these students from your course? And I'm just going to click on Remove because I really do. Takes a second, it updates. All of my students are gone. They've all been removed from the class. That means that when they go to Google Classroom, they will not see this class showing up for them anymore. Now, it does not delete the folder and the work that they've done. That will still remain in their Google Drive in their classroom folder. So now that I've done that, I have all of my students out. I'm going to click up here on the left and go back to where I have all of my classes. I have my Sixers. I now have no students in the class. That's what I wanted to do. Now, I have a couple of options, but what I want to do when I click on these three dots, I'm going to click on Archive. It gives me a notification. I know it's hard for you to see sometimes on these smaller recordings, so I will read it to you. It says you and your students won't be able to make changes. You can view this class in archived classes in the classroom menu and can find all class files in your drive. So that's okay. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to click on Archive. Okay. Now remember, that class was called Sixers. I don't have that class listed here anymore under my Google Classrooms. I can't see it. So what I would need to do, if for some reason I wanted to access that class, I would go up to my selection menu, that main menu up here on the left. And if I scroll down below all of my current classes, now notice it shows these are classes in which I'm a teacher. Then it shows classes in which I'm enrolled. And then it has archived classes. When I click on archived classes, I can see any of the classes that I've archived. So they still look the same. It's kind of a grayed out version, but I know that these are archived. So I really shouldn't have archived classes that have students in them. If I do, it's probably something I want to revisit. Once have chosen to archive a class, my 3 dots change for selection. I can restore it, which means I can bring it back if I archived something by accident, or I can delete it. Now, if I delete it, it's going to say that I will no longer have access to any posts or comments that have been added to this class. I'll still have my class files through Google Drive. And then it gives me a warning that there is no way to undo this action. If I really want to delete it, this is where I hit delete and it's gone forever. It's not going to show up anywhere. But what's really important is that it talks about no longer having access to posts or comments that have been added to this class. And I'm going to show you why that's important. So I'm going to click on cancel for right now. I'm going to go to my list of classes. And I'm just going to go into one of the classes that I may be in. So let's say I went ahead and I made a new class for this school year. So just as a reminder, up in the upper right-hand corner, I can go to the plus, click on create a class, and that's as easy as it is to create a new class for this school year. I know a lot of you came up with a great strategy of as your little descriptor text. I always put the date so I remember if it was professional development training that I can delete. But a lot of you I know talked about putting the school year. It was something that we learned from our colleagues that it was helpful to have the school year. And this is a perfect example of when it would be handy because I would know that I need to go in and take care of those classes so that I'm ready to start the new school year. So whether I created a new class or was another class that I was using, I'm just going to open a test class right now. Remember, one of the things that I can do when I go to my bottom right and I have that create announcement, create an assignment, or create a question, I have that reuse post. When I click on reuse post, I can use any class that I have. So you'll notice here that my classes, even if they're archived, are showing up. So it will show up. So here are my Sixers. It is saying in parentheses that this class has been archived, but I can still choose it, hit select, and then go take a post that I had used during that class and reuse it. Now, if I had deleted it altogether, I would not be able to reuse a post. So that's why I strongly recommend that you archive classes and then leave them as archived unless you're absolutely sure that you don't want them and you'll never want to use them again. So if you had gone in and you had created an assignment that had links to websites, it had documents to use, everything was there that you wanted, it really makes sense to just archive, get them off of your main list so that they're not showing up anymore. So when you're here, it cleans up your classes. But once you delete them, they're gone. You can't use them at all. So I'm going to give you an example of one here. Here's another group that I had. If I decide to delete this altogether, I won't have access anymore. So this is called the bugs. So remember, I just clicked on my students. Under actions, I said to remove. Again, always cleanest to get rid of your students first, to remove them from the class. And then once I'm here, I'm going to go back to my list and say, okay, here are the bugs. Verify there are no students. I'm going to archive them. Now I know that that class is one I do not want. It might be something I made as a test. It might have been a class that you had that you know that you absolutely will never be teaching that again. Never say never, but if you were sure you wanted to get rid of it, you would then click on your main class menu, scroll all the way down to archived classes. And here they are, the bugs. I now hit delete. Once I do that and confirm and say, yes, I really do want to delete, that's it. It's deleted and it's gone. Okay, so I'm not seeing them anymore. So now if I were to go into one of my classes that I was in, I can always do my little shortcut here, click on the class, and I said, now I want to reuse a post. The bugs is not an option. I don't have that class as an option because I've deleted it altogether. So I see my archived, I see my active, but I would no longer see my deleted classes. So those are really the big things that you need to know to prepare yourself for this school year. Hopefully you are going to be able to take advantage and get some things set up ahead of time, but you also know how easy it is. If you were starting a class and you wanted to create it on the spot, you're going to click on your plus, You're going to click on Create a Class, give it a name, give it a section if you want to create some more information, and then create. That's all there is to it. And here they are. So as a reminder, I can select a theme and change what it looks like back there to anything I want. And hit select class theme and it will change it. I can upload my own, whatever I want to do there. And then it's ready. So I can give my class their code and I can have them join that class right there. So it really only takes a couple of, literally less than a minute to create a class, have a code ready, and have the students join. I'm just going to take a moment to also talk about the fact that a lot of teachers have been making use of small ad hoc Google Classrooms, which I think is great. So what they're doing is they're creating something like a math group that is more of a temporary group that you could have kids join. So if you had a regular class, if I'm looking at all of my class list, and I had a class, for example, this 2015-16 writing was a class that someone had. And then I had a small group of kids who were going on and writing poetry for a poetry slam. And I didn't want them to have everything all in this one writing class, or I wanted to be able to send links to them, assignments to them that I didn't want to go to that entire writing class. I could make a class that was called my poetry group and give them the invitation. And there may be only 4 or 5 kids in that group, but they would have something a little different. I've also seen teachers use it for enrichment, which is great. You'll see that over here. We have an enrichment group or another group that for support. I love the idea that some teachers are going in and they're actually creating their own pictures for the top, or they're letting kids create them, which is really neat. That gives the kids ownership, to that classroom. But I've also seen teachers who are using a very standard background. So for example, if I go into a class here, this is my Wonder Kids group, and I click on them, and I have this background here where I have the American flag. And if I had some other students who may not be handling that work and might need a different assignment, I could create another class for them. It would give them that same class showing up in their Google Classroom list, but I could also give them an additional class that I've created for them, or maybe a couple of kids with extra support. And what I've seen teachers do is even use the same picture up at the top and everything else. So really another student who happened to look over their shoulder wouldn't even realize that they were in a different Google Classroom at the time. So again, take advantage of being able to set up all of the classrooms that you want, keeping in mind how simple it is to have the students join you, because all you need to do is give them that class code and have them join your class, and taking advantage of ad hoc classes. As a little reminder, if you don't like the code that comes up, if you think that it's difficult for the kids, sometimes it's difficult if it's an I or an L, you can click the down arrow here. And if you click reset, it's just going to come up with a different code, which might make it easier for you. You cannot select a code right now, but it would reset that code to something different for you. Another thing is to make sure that you're showing the kids that they have access to the files that you give them and for all of their classes, and they have a calendar view. So if I look right here at the calendar view, this month there isn't much there, but if I had gone through different weeks, I can see that there would be different assignments that would be due on different weeks. And you'll see as I go through and to some of the weeks where we have a little more activity than others, obviously back in the school year, you'll start to notice that they're different colors if they came from different classes. So it's a great view for the kids to use as well. They can also click for you as a teacher. These are classes that I'm teaching. If I click on work, it's going to show me all of the assignments that I've created and anything I may need to look at. And if I scroll down to classes in which I'm enrolled, it will show me that work that I have as well. So that's a nice view. So if you're as a teacher, I can click on work. It will show me all of my classes that I currently have. It's showing me assignments that I need to, things that I might need to review, things that I've already reviewed, things that I have no due date. So it's just going to take a second, pull them up. I have a lot in here. And so I'm seeing all of my different classes. It has a little color code here. It has the name of the assignment. It shows me the done and not done. I'm not going to do it right now just for privacy reasons. But if I were to click on the not done, it would bring me right there to the kids who have not done them and those that are done. So if I want to click and mark it as reviewed, it would come off this list. It would move down for me. Okay. So those are just some things to think about when you're cleaning up your Google Classroom. Going in, like I said, remembering first step is to unenroll your students, to remove them from the class. Easy, select them all at one time, remove them all. I'll do it one last time just to show you. Shortcut, I can click right on the students of my class. Checkbox at the top to choose all of them. And under actions, I'm just going to click on remove. Verify it, they're all gone, they're removed. And then from there, I'm going to go back to my main classroom list. And I can say, all right, I'm ready now that I can archive that class. Click on archive, it cleans up my screen, but I have access if I want to repost. So if you have any questions, as always, you can email me and let me know. Hopefully you're ready to start the school year and ready to use Google Classroom again. As you're going through, if you have any questions, reach out to your peers, reach out to me. We know there are always tweaks and changes, but again, we also appreciate the fact that there's usually a notification from Google when something's changing. Thank you. Have a great school year.